Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm an illustrator from Melbourne, Australia who currently lives in Port Charlotte, Florida. Today, I was gonna film a drawing video for you, I'll be honest, and I decided against it because I've had this thing in my head all day and it's been driving me nuts, and I'm like, I need to talk about it. I need to talk to YouTube about it because it's interfering with my creative process in that I'm so focused on wanting to talk about it that I can't actually do the thing that I want to be doing outside of talking about it. Does that make any sense? Probably not. To give you some context, yeah, I'll give you some context. I have been feeling extremely overwhelmed lately, especially with doing these sorts of videos where I draw and I talk about process, or I cook and then I draw or something. I felt like there's something lacking with my work lately, and I just haven't had that like internal fiery passion to do stuff, and there's always like a reason not to do things, or there's always something that's going to set me off or stress me out. And the problem is I have been endlessly questioning myself whenever I sit down to make something. It's always questions that are really big and like there's no way I could answer them. For example, I'll sit down and I'll have a piece of paper in front of me and I'll be like, is this me? Am I drawing like myself? Am I emulating someone else right now? And will this reflect who I am as a person? And will this engage with people? And will this change lives? And will this help define my creative legacy? And all these horrible, huge questions that really don't matter. Like, just put the pen to paper, you silly cow. I don't know how to create like that. I don't know how to sit there and do something that I deem worthwhile when I am just questioning myself to that level of depth and to that level of severity, because it's great to question those things every once in a while, not for every single drawing that you do. And it's been frustrating me. It's really been frustrating me. So yesterday I went to Starbucks and I sat down with the full intention of working on some kindergarten portraits that I'm doing for my mum at the moment. If you don't know, my mum is a kindergarten teacher and she does portfolios for her students every year. I offered to do portraits of each of the kids in the exact same style, like all, you know, like school portrait kind of thing. That's something I've been working on. And it's been good because I can just sort of half pay attention to something else, like I can have a video on in the background, or I can watch a movie or have a podcast playing while I just do these things. I was sitting at Starbucks and I had the full intention of sitting down to draw some of these kids, and I sat down and I started listening to a podcast, and I will get to the podcast in a minute because it's literally changing my life right now, not exaggerating. As soon as I like put my headphones on, I thought, I don't want to draw these kids today, like at all. I want to draw something about how I'm feeling because I haven't been feeling great. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen the illustration that I'm talking about, and I will show it at some point in this video as well. But I have just, I don't know, sometimes living that expat life isn't like a wanderlusty dream, and sometimes you get really homesick and you get really overwhelmed, and it's just, it can be way more than just I live in a new place now. Believe it or not, your bad traits will follow you when you move to a different country, and sometimes they will blow up because you're in an uncomfortable environment or in a new situation. So I've been wrestling with a lot of that sort of stuff, and I've kind of felt like I can't express that through my art. So yesterday I sat down and I thought, you know what, I am just going to do a drawing about how good it is to sit down and have a cup of Earl Grey tea, because that has been one of the few things that has kept me really calm lately, is sitting down and having a coffee or sitting down and having a cup of tea. And I did. And I was listening to this podcast, and the podcast I was listening to is called The Creative Pep Talk. If you've not listened to this, just run and listen to it right now. Andy J. Miller is amazing. He also goes by Andy J. Pizza. I'll leave a link to him below and all the stuff he does. He's friggin' incredible. And I'll be honest, I burned through these episodes really quickly. I started at episode 1 and I'm at like episode 20 already. He's got like 200 or 300 of them now. But I started off at the very beginning because I wanted to know exactly where this started. I've heard a couple of his podcasts prior to this, like the one with Fran Nerd and a couple of other ones. But I really wanted to go back to the beginning and just listen from start to finish. And it has been enormously helpful, like insanely helpful. And one thing he talked about was listening to bands and watching media that really fulfilled him. And as he was talking about this sort of stuff, it totally changed my approach to how I illustrate. Because as I said before, I've been looking at my process as like this big thing. He was talking about all this stuff influencing him, and he's brought up this idea of like your creativity having different seasons. And it occurred to me that this is my next season of creativity. I've had that, you know, immediate like starting my illustration process season where I was doing a lot of beards and line work, and I still love to draw those things. But now I'm not afraid to go line free. I'm not afraid to draw digitally and just use gouache or whatever. And it just opened up this whole new world for me. And I was sitting there and he was talking about how music really identifies like emotion with him. And I remember growing up listening to so much music. I grew up being that shitty friend that like knew all the indie bands that you didn't, and I had a real complex about it, I'll be honest. It was so valuable to me, like finding bands that no one else knew or that just deeply related to me was so intense and so satisfying. And he mentioned this album by Sun Kill Moon called Benji, and as soon as he said that album, it clicked in my head because I love that album. And the first song, Carissa, you can't listen to it like in a car with your friends. Like you have to be so mentally prepared to listen to that album. And as he was talking about this stuff, I was like, each illustration I do is just a song in an album, which is a series of feelings or a series of stuff. It all makes sense now, and I don't know if I sound crazy, but it has completely transformed the way I look at my work. And the way I think about it is, a songwriter doesn't sit down and go, okay, this song has to be kismet. This has to be the catalyst of every single thing that I want my career to be. This has to be my legacy. This has to be my entire, like, this has to be the entirety of my being. You know what I mean? And if they do think like that, they're not going to really capture it because it's going to be a mess. So they sit down and they go, okay, this song is about a breakup with a girl or a guy who was genuinely horrible to me. Bam. How many songs do you know about breakups? How many of them sound completely different to one another? Case in point, this has just changed my perspective. So when I sat down to do that illustration at Starbucks, I thought to myself, I want something that emulates the feeling of just calm, like spreading out across me, because I'm the kind of person who takes on other people's feelings. I am a feeler. I do take on other people's emotions, and I like to think that when I take on someone else's emotion, I'm also putting that emotion back out there a little bit. So if I can feel calm from having a cup of tea, then it will spread calm to other people. And that's what I tried to emulate with this illustration, which I will leave here. Chelsea of Editing World, please insert illustration here. You can also see it over on Instagram. I'll leave the link below. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to think about, am I ripping off this artist or this illustrator, or am I being too cheesy, or am I being too feely, or am I being too whatever? And I just did it. I just drew me sitting there drinking a cup of Earl Grey with all these little calm bubble feelings pushing out of me, and it was great. And then I decided, you know what, this feels good, this feels right, I'm putting it on Instagram. And I did, and I put a caption that was honest, because I feel like I filter myself too much. I feel like sometimes I get caught up in this idea that I don't want to be offensive, when I don't necessarily think being honest necessarily equates to being offensive. In some cases, definitely, but in other cases, I think it's necessary. I just wanted to be a little bit more vulnerable, because I feel like the more vulnerable I get with my work, the better off it's going to come across, like the more relatable it's going to be. Because, you know, it's all well and good to make artwork that's about being sad and about being happy, because everyone feels sad and everyone feels happy. But if you can pinpoint it down to like that deeper feeling of like, I am lonely living in a country that is not mine, or I am afraid of someone asking me for correct change while I line up at a supermarket because I'm not used to the currency. If you can pinpoint things like that, it becomes deeper to people and becomes more relatable. And I'm getting really pent up here because this all happened because I wasn't feeling okay, and I found something to try and help me feel okay. And it's working. This means a lot to me because I can't work at the moment. Like, I make these videos out of pure passion and joy, and I do my illustrations right now because I feel physically compelled to, like I just have to make, because I don't have working rights. We're literally waiting on my working rights to be processed by USCIS right now. So hearing these sorts of things that help me like engage and help me grow my process are just so important and so uplifting to listen to and find, because this means when I can work, I know how I'm going to work better, and I know what's going to make me tick, and I know when I need to take a break, and I know when I need to be feeling things and not thinking about creating. And it's just so nice. It's so nice. And this whole looking at my work like I'm writing a song or that I'm creating a song, it just made things so much clearer in my head, because my head has been a jumbly mess at the moment, guys, and it's finally starting to calm down. I hope this is somewhat helpful to you. I just really felt compelled to talk about it because it might help. I don't know if I've said this already. Editing Chelsea will delete it if I have. Hello. If you're a newbie around here, hi. Thank you so much for subscribing. I've seen an influx of new people turn up, and I really am excited that this channel is growing, and I really appreciate you being here. It's so nice. It's so just nice. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm not very eloquent today. But yeah, I'm really humbled that you've decided to pop in and subscribe and stick around, and thank you for being here. If you would like to see more from me, I am on Patreon. You can support me over there. I only ask for up to $5 a month, and that includes seeing a sketchbook and getting regular podcast updates and my videos a couple days early, and just a heap of stuff really. So you can check me out over there. I am also on Instagram, which I will link below, and I run a blog over on my website where I kind of just summarize my week every Friday, so I'll leave a link to that too. I do have an Etsy shop. It is currently closed until I get my working rights, so feel free to have a browse. It will be reopening in the new year at some point, but yeah, that's me. Thank you so much for being here and watching. I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving, which is tomorrow if you are in the US. I'm so excited because I've only done one Thanksgiving before this, and we're pretty much doing the exact same thing, to be honest. We're going to Golden Corral and just Black Friday shopping, but I'm really excited. Last time I was here, I was petrified of trying anything because I don't really like pumpkin or sweet potato, unpopular opinion. But I'm gonna give it a crack this time. I'm really gonna go all out and try pumpkin pie and sweet potato casserole. So I'm really excited. Thank you again for watching this video, and I hope you have a great week. I will be back next week with some sort of illustration for you. Bye.